Hello, everybody. I'm Connor Kurpat.
I'm Matt Spirio.
And this is another segment of Halftime on the Hudson. Hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us today. We're going to get right into things here. So the MLB has currently locked out its players until the two sides can figure out the collective bargaining agreement. This means that no trades are possible and that no free agent transactions are able to occur until the agreement is reached between the two sides. In the agreement, the MLB is looking to keep 7-inning doubleheaders, the ghost runner once we get into extra innings, and some other rules. And I mean, if you haven't seen this, on the MLB websites, all of the players' images have been completely removed. So the MLB is kind of acting like a jealous ex because the players aren't agreeing with what they want, aren't abiding by what they want. It's kind of become a whole messy situation. We don't really know how this is going to play out, how this could potentially impact the MLB season going forward. Hopefully, something does occur and they can come to an agreement. But right now, it looks like both sides are button heads right now, and it doesn't seem like a conclusion to this event is coming anytime soon. Matt, tell me, what do you think of this MLB lockout right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're a long ways away from the regular season beginning, but they got to figure this out in a hurry. At the end of the day, the players are obviously they're not going to back down. We are in an age of just player advocacy, and especially for the young players in the MLB, a lot of the bright stars that are making baseball so popular, they want to be able to get paid. And the fact that they can't because they're under contract for the first 6 years that they're drafted, that's really what is driving this, and that's why the players are not agreeing to the new CBA. And again, because of the state of baseball and the need for these bright stars, it's going to come down to the MLB eventually cracking because the players aren't going to back down.
Yeah, and I think you see, just to bring up two things that you said, one, players not backing down. I think you saw that all over Twitter when the players were changing their profile picture to those grayed out player images as a kind of like screw you to the MLB per se. And also, just to go off what you're saying about the treatment of the MLB and the state that it's at right now, I mean, I completely agree. I used to actually work at a minor league baseball stadium, and there we saw the way that the players were treated. I mean, minor league players have to go live in host family houses or hotels. They're not given good nutrition, good food. They're kind of treated like nothing, essentially. They get paid nothing. They make terrible wages. And that's something that the MLB really has to fix. I think when we see, can look at models like the NFL, the NBA, where rookies are coming in and getting pretty good contracts depending on where they're taken. In the MLB, you have thousands of players at all different levels of the minor leagues, and they're getting paid dirt, like absolutely nothing. And they're usually long contracts. These guys, even if they get called up to the MLB, get paid hardly anything. So it's a real problem. So hopefully the players can figure this out and get what they deserve.
No, absolutely. And we've had some other, talking about small contracts. Let's talk about some of the big ones. I know what's going on. The Mets have you very excited. As a Yankees fan, Max Scherzer, Starling Marte coming into New York. Are the Mets? Are they the New York Superpower? What do you think?
I'm going to shut this down right off the bat here. The Mets are not a New York superpower. For anybody who doesn't know, I mean, if you watch this show, you've probably seen Zach Musso, big Mets fan. As soon as Max Scherzer gets signed, we get a text saying the Mets own New York. When of all creation have the New York Mets ever owned New York? They never have, and they never will. And that's not going to change by shutting Max Scherzer, who into a 3-year deal. What is he going to last you? A year? Maybe 2? The guy's really old. I mean, Canna's solid. Starling Marte is good. But, I mean, all in all, I think the Mets are a team that are probably still potentially going to miss the playoffs as they always do. Getting Starling Marte and Mark Canna doesn't mean all of a sudden bats like Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor are going to be producing at a constant level, because that's not going to happen. And if DeGrom already can't stay healthy, and you think Matt Scherzer is also going to be able to, I don't see it. What do you think?
The Mets' problems all came on offense, and Starling Marte is a very good, everyday guy. He's going to give you above average production, but at the end of the day, now is just Scherzer going to lose 1-0, and the day after DeGrom does it? It doesn't matter if the Mets aren't scoring runs; they're not going to win games. That being said, the Yankees obviously have their problems, and I don't know if there necessarily even is a New York superpower right now, because both teams are so incredibly flawed. But I'm not ready to just crown the Mets yet the way that Zach did. So. We'll kind of get back to that as the MLB season takes off. For right now, I'm still putting the Yankees ahead of the Mets, but regardless, a very good offseason for the Mets thus far.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Even though the Mets did beat the Yankees in that little series, that big drama fest with Francisco Lindor and Giancarlo Stanton, great series, by the way. I hope that brings back the Mets versus Yankees rivalry that I feel like has been missing for quite a bit of time. But I mean, outside of that, the Mets couldn't make the playoffs. The Yankees, even though they inevitably lost, they still did make the playoffs. So, yeah, Mets definitely do not own New York. Even, what do they expect? Scherzer to go 9 innings every time?
It's just not going to happen.
It's
I
ridiculous.
would not worry too much about the Mets.
Not at all.
So moving on past the MLB, we had a great NFL slate once again. I mean, Monday Night Football, the Patriots and the Bills, this blizzard wind tunnel monstrosity of a football game. Mac Jones attempts 3 passes, and the Patriots run the ball like an Army football and come away with a win. What was going on? Did you watch this game? Did you?
Yeah, so I caught some of the game.
Did
and
you feel good about it?
Not at all. I mean, this is, I saw people saying football weather. What kind of weather is this? I wouldn't even call it football weather. It's the type of weather you stay inside and your house blows over while you're inside. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. Somehow, I mean, going into this game, seeing what the weather was like, I remember I saw a video before kickoff of a guy attempting to make a 35-yard field goal, and the ball blows completely to the right, into the stands, down the tunnel. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And judging by how the Bills' running game has been all season, I kind of assume that, yeah, the Bills are not going to walk away with this one. They haven't been able to establish a running game all season, and in this type of weather, there's no way you're going to pass the ball. And knowing the way that Bill Belichick, how he masterfully crafts these game plans, I mean, he knew what was coming. He was ready for it, as Bill always is, and I kind of assumed he pulled out with that one. I didn't expect Mac Jones to only throw 3 passes. That's kind of crazy for only 19 yards. But nonetheless, Patriots always find a way when Bill's at the helm, especially this season.
No, I think this is a perfect example of why the Bills are not a team that can succeed in the postseason. They've been good the past couple of regular seasons, but when it gets cold and it gets windy and you have to be able to run the ball, the Bills, they have a reluctancy to do so and an inability to do so. And Josh Allen was trying to move balls through the wind, and he's got one of the best arms in the league. And there was a couple times where he found digs and he wasn't able to connect. But if you cannot run the ball in December and January, you are not going to win playoff games and you're not going to win Super Bowls. And that's the biggest problem with the Bills.
Yeah, I think in the NFL today, too, you can't be a one-trick pony. Whether this weather happened or not, you can't be a one-trick pony as an offense in the NFL today. It's not going to get you anywhere, even if you have a stud like Josh Allen at quarterback and a guy like Stephon Diggs out there catching passes. Eventually, especially come playoff time, somebody's going to be able to calculate how you play in your games and be able to stop you, force you to run the ball, and you're not going to be able to do anything. So not looking good for the Bills.
No, absolutely not. But things are looking good, and this is, I think, everyone's favorite moment of the week. The Lions, they got to win. The Lions got a win. It's Jared Goff's first win without Sean McVay ever. He was 0-17-1 before that. And I mean, this play, you watch it, Jared Goff, he finds St. Brown, the scene of Jared Goff running to the sideline and just pure euphoria. It kind of got me fired up, not gonna lie. I think everyone kind of felt that for the Lions, and it's so classic for it to happen against the Vikings too. It's just like it's the cherry on top of the Mike Zimmer Vikings to lose to the 0-10-1 Lions. I think this is a win for not only the Lions, but just for everyone who doesn't live in Minnesota.
Let me ask you a question. The Lions, as Dan Campbell said, did they get knocked down, get up, and bite a kneecap off on their way up? Because that's what it looked like to me out there on the field. I mean, they were leading in this game. All of a sudden, they lost the lead in Lions fashion. It looked like they were going to lose the game. And Jared Goff, man. Jared Goff dials in so much.
Former number 1 pick, Jared Goff.
Yeah, former
Let's not
number.
forget that.
Exactly. Former Super Bowl quarterback,
Former Super Bowl quarterback, Jared Goff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I feel bad because about 3 weeks ago I was calling him Jared Goof, and now I got to kind of take it back. The guy absolutely balled out. Got that game-winning dart with no time left, so good for him.
He's 1-10-1. You don't have to take it back.
No, you know what? For this week, I'm going to give him a break. Jared Goff, you did a good job. You saved yourself from being called Jared Goof for one more week. Good job.
All right, our next big game of the week, the Steelers and the Ravens. The Ravens, they have a chance to tie the game, and John Harbaugh, as John Harbaugh always does, he likes to just drive it in his pure, masculinity and just affection for his team. We're going to go for 2. We're going to win the game. Comes back to bite them. The Ravens eventually lose to the Steelers by 1. Do you go for 2 in that spot? Tell me, you put yourself in the mind of John Harbaugh. You have Lamar Jackson. You have a great offense.
Yeah.
Your defense is playing well. You're playing a division rival. Do you go for 2 in that spot?
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to agree with me here, but I say you go for 2. I've always been more of an aggressive, when it comes to play calling offensively, aggressive play caller, I think. Like when I think in that mentality, if I was the coach, I would, let's put it this way. If I'm playing Madden, I'm going for 2, right? So I think that was the right call. The Steelers defense has not looked as good of late, especially after losing TJ Watt for a little bit of time. And I think the Ravens, I mean, with Lamar Jackson being able to make plays on his feet, and with, you got a guy like Mark Andrews in there catching passes, I think it made sense for them to go for 2. And that's the problem. When you play aggressive, right, sometimes it comes back to bite you, and you got to deal with it. But if it does pay off, that's a W on your sheet right there. And what are you going to do? Risk it going to overtime. You lose the coin toss. Steelers get it, drive down the field, and win.
I mean, if the Steelers drive down the field, it's the Steelers. It's not, you're not playing Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or
But you're
Rodgers.
also losing to the Steelers at that moment. They've got the lead against you.
That's fair. But I still haven't forgave John Harbaugh for running the ball against the Broncos when he should have just needed it. So
True that.
I am upset. Speaking of my Broncos losing to the Chiefs, I mean, it's very much to be expected. What is not to be expected? The Chiefs' defense, 5 straight games under 20 points. I said it a few weeks ago. The Chiefs' defense playing well. Everyone's like, oh, they've played so-and-so and so-and-so. They went out, they did it against Dallas, kept them under 20 points, and they did it again against Denver. And it's the Chiefs. This is like the 2006 Colts, where like the defense is so bad, but it's Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison scoring 40 points a game. All of a sudden, the defense come alive, and Mahomes has gone missing. But however you get wins, the Chiefs are doing it, and they're right back atop the AFC West, and they're in contention for the 1 seed, just as they always knew they would be. So I think the Chiefs are in a pretty good spot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think as of right now, the Chiefs are in a good spot. I still don't completely buy into them as a team, especially their defense. Yes, they kept the Broncos to 9 points, but seeing Teddy Two Gloves out there and the rest of the Broncos offense doesn't initially really scare me. I mean, you do have, a guy like Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, but when you have Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball, he gets to be a little bit inconsistent at a lot of times. So I really still don't have a lot of faith in this Chiefs defense. I mean, as for Mahomes, I think we're kind of seeing him a little bit get exposed this year. And that's not to say he's doing terrible. It's just showing that he does have flaws in his game, and defenses are kind of figuring that out. Now, he has been a little bit more patient, has waited for those throws, hasn't gone deep every time, waited for the underneath routes to develop, and he throws it there. But still, nonetheless, I think if you put enough pressure on him, because his line hasn't been as good this year, it definitely lets the cracks show in that foundation. But I think, yeah, still not sold on the Chiefs. I think they are an extremely beatable team. It's just that they're really hitting their groove right now, finding that momentum, and they're winning games every way they know how, whether it's clean or not.
That's fair. That's very fair. But with that being said, I think pretty much every team in the AFC is flawed. So
agreed.
I think we can see anyone, coming on top, and their experience is going to be definitely important in the playoffs.
Doubt.
That being said, our last sport, we got the NBA. What are some things, what you see around going on in the NBA?
Well, the Warriors ended the Suns' 18-game win streak on Friday, which is the 11th longest in NBA history. And this could be a potential conference finals matchup. Is that something you'd like to see?
Absolutely. I mean, these are the 2 best teams in basketball. As of right now, they're both 20-4. We know how I feel about the
You're a big Steph guy. I know you're a big Steph guy.
We know how I feel about Steph Curry. But the Suns, they're awesome, man. I love Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre, and that 3 has become amongst the best big 3s in the league.
Yeah.
But yeah, this would be an awesome conference finals matchup. Both these games, the Suns beat them last week, and the Warriors come back out, beat them again, and their win streak. These 2 teams are, I think, head and shoulders above not only the rest of the Western Conference, but the entire NBA. I mean, you have the Nets going in the East, and not to mention Klay Thompson comes back.
I was just about to
Klay Thompson comes back. We might really see a Warriors team that the same levels that they strike hearts, that they strike fear in the hearts they used to. And that would be very frightening for the Suns, because they're already kind of outmatched by the Warriors right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think once Klay Thompson comes back, if he comes back fully healthy, can stay healthy, and produce at the level that he used to, he's going to be an absolute wrecking ball, and so are the Warriors. That team is going to be deadly, and honestly, they would be my top choice to win the NBA Finals if that was the case.
No, I think so. And over on the East, we had the top 2 teams on Saturday night go at it, the Bulls and the Nets. The Nets, though, who were the top team, they did not come out on top. It was actually the Bulls, and I feel like we talk about him every week on this show.
We do.
I'm kind of starting to have a little bit of a bromance with him.
He's your
Lonzo
boy.
Ball.
That's your boy, dude.
A clutch 3. Not his best game, but Lonzo Ball is just like, he finds ways to just work his way into our show. And I got to give Lonzo props. The clutch 3, the celebration was awesome. I like to see Lonzo Ball succeed.
Yeah.
I really do. Especially because LaMelo's getting so much attention. Zoe did it first.
Yeah, of course.
Zoe did it first.
Yep.
So I love to see it. And with Zach LaVine and even DeMar DeRozan, they've both turned into legitimate top 10 MVP candidates. I mean, the Bulls are really good. No one expected them to be this good. The most unexpected team. And I I don't know. The Bulls, I feel pretty good about what I'm seeing out of them.
Yeah, I like the Bulls a lot. I think with the way that the level that Lonzo's playing, I think this is the team he needed to go to, somewhere he can really distribute the ball around and still make plays himself, but more so just be that point guard that can get the ball moving around. And yeah, with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan both coming out and playing the way that they have been, I think the Bulls, are one of the most terrifying teams in the East.
They really have become that. They really have. And close it out. The team who we deemed the most unexpected.
Yeah, so you're still upset that you lost in the game.
I'm still upset I lost the debate.
You're still upset you lost the debate.
Still upset. The Knicks, though, 3-game losing streak going into last night. R.J. Barrett with a career night, 7 threes, 32 points.
He's an animal.
Completes the Bing Bong parlay in New York.
Yeah.
The Knicks, the Nets, the Rangers, the Islanders, they all won. 4 New York teams, 4 wins in one night, completing the Bing Bong parlay. I don't normally say good things about the Knicks, but I love New York, so I'm gonna give the Knicks props there.
Yeah, let's go Knicks. R.J. Barrett, as you brought up real quick, let me just touch on it. He's been absolutely crazy this year. Not only as a scorer, he's been good scoring the ball, but he's been pretty locked down all year as a defender. One of the best defenders in the league, I would say, right now at this point in the season. He's been absolutely great. So yeah, the Bing Bong parlay, though, you got to love it, especially with all these Bing Bong memes floating around the internet. It's just, you can't write a better story than that. It's absolutely poetic.
No, I couldn't agree more. Well, that's all we got for our professional sports. We're going to kick it over to our game show, Prove Your Point, next. It's going to be pretty exciting.
Let's go to it.
What's up, guys? We are back with another episode, the last episode of the semester of Prove Your Point. We got Jimmy, we got Derek, we got a lot of good topics. Let's jump right into it. The college football playoff, we know our Final Four. I'm curious who you guys think who you think is going to win the national championship. Jimmy, we're going to start with you.
Well, I'm going with the safe bet, the University of Alabama. They just embarrassed the #1 ranked Georgia on national television for the SEC championship this past weekend. This Georgia team was the best defense in the nation, and no one thought they could be scored on. This win gave the Crimson Tide the #1 seed in the playoffs, and it pins them against Cincinnati. The Tide are heavy favorites, and I can definitely agree there. Nick Saban is the greatest college coach of all time and loves to show his dominance. This team is electric with QB Bryce Young at the helm. This kid is a wizard at the position and assisted by stud receivers John Mitchie III and Jamerson Williams. It's hard to pick against them. This team has always been and will always be title contenders.
No, that's a very fair argument, especially after they just beat Georgia. But Derek, I'm curious what you have to say to counteract that.
I mean, for me, it's quite obvious that Georgia's going to win the national championship. They've got Stetson Bennett, who has been consistent all season long. They got JT Daniels as a backup quarterback as well. And anything can happen in college football. Also, they got a great run game. It's been stout all year long with Jamie White and James Cook, who both have been rushers of over 500 yards. That is insane. And they got the second best tight end in the country, and Brock Bowers, while George Pickett, who was hurt after week 2 with an ACL injury, is more likely. He's looking like he'll come back for the playoffs, so that's a huge add for them. And they just lost to Alabama, and they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready to beat Alabama after with their defense, their tremendous defense all season long, as it's been, as well as it being tough to beat a team twice. Like Alabama's going to have to beat them again after that tough victory. I'm just going to say, Georgia, my folks, they're ready to win, especially after losing to Alabama. They're ready to win the college football playoff.
No, I think both teams, I think these are obviously the 2 best teams in the country. Alabama has a little bit easier matchup against Cincinnati. Georgia playing Michigan, but I think they match up pretty well against Michigan. Michigan is not able to kind of throw the ball as well through the air as Bama will be, and they're going to have to run the ball in that Georgia defense if they're going to win. So this is tough, but it is the year, in my opinion, it is the year of the unconventional team, Michigan in the playoff instead of Ohio State. And as much as I think Alabama could win, I don't think they're going to beat Georgia twice. And I like your argument, what you said. It is hard to beat a team twice. I could not agree more. So I'm going with Georgia on this one. Derek is up 1-0. All right, we're sticking with football here. Our second debate, the NFC, guys, it is a mess. We only have 5 teams above 500. We need 2 more playoff teams. Give me one team that can kind of just sneak in, maybe make a little bit of noise in the playoffs and, kind of shake up the NFC a little bit. Derek, we're starting with you.
I got to go with the Minnesota Vikings. First of all, they got Kirk Cousins at quarterback. He's probably the best quarterback in the NFC from seed 6 to the bottom, except for obviously you got Russell Wilson. And they don't just have Cousins. They got receivers like Justin Jefferson, who's an underrated wide receiver. Personally, I think he's a top 10 receiver in the NFL. They also got Adam Thielen. They got an underrated tight end in Tyler Conklin. But yet, they still got an amazing backfield. You got Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, and I like Alexander Madison great player from Boise State. And their defense, when you look at the defensive side of the ball, they got some athletes over there too. They got Harrison Smith. They got Eric Hendricks, the linebacker. They got some great players. And then you got Xavier Woods on the other side with Smith. And that's a great side of the defensive side of the ball for Michigan, for the Minnesota Vikings, which I think is going to be a huge factor for the Vikings. And then also you got coming back Patrick Peterson coming back after an injury. You got Anthony Barr coming back. Those are huge impact players for the Minnesota Vikings. And I think the Vikings might even sneak in and get that 6th seed and make some noise in the playoffs.
No, it's definitely very possible. We've seen the Vikings do that before. I remember a few years ago, they kind of snuck in as a wild card. They ended up beating the Saints. I'm never counting out Kirk Cousins. I'm a Captain Kirk lover. So I'm a big fan here, but I'm excited to see what Jimmy's been bringing to this argument. What team are you going with?
At the beginning of this season, everyone counted the Eagles out. But as they sit right now, they're the 8th seed right on the cusp of making it into that 7th seed. They're 6-7 right now and coming off a great win against the Jets led by Gardner, the man Minshew. This will definitely be temporary as Jalen Hurts is the guy in Philly as of right now. This team, led by first-year coach Nick Sirianni, has been blowing people's expectations away. Going into this year, there was a lot of controversy regarding Jalen, as insiders believe the Eagles were ready to move on from him already, and trade rumors surrounding Deshaun Watson were swirling. But I believe the team has used that as fuel to prove the doubters wrong. This team is the back of their QB and are proving it. Jalen's connection with rookie receiver Devontae Smith has been amazing, and that defense has been sneaky good as of late. And they are finally going back to what they are good at as they have become run-heavy again. Miles Sanders has been a great back for them, and Kenneth Gainwell is no slouch either. Their last 4 games are the true test as they face all division opponents. If they can win out, or at least win 3 of them, I wholeheartedly believe this team can make that final spot in the wild card.
Yeah, I think the Eagles definitely, I think with Minshew, maybe you have a better chance. But, Hurts has done his thing as well. And as much as I love Kirk, the Vikings, they did this thing this weekend where they played the Detroit Lions and they lost. And that's not usually a good thing from a playoff team, and especially for Mike Zimmer, who is, I think, somehow worked his way into like the bottom 5 coaches in the NFL. I am going to actually side with the Eagles here, even though none of you guys picked the team that I would have gone with, which is the Washington football team. I think the Eagles are a better selection than the Vikings because the Vikings are just riddled with just like disappointment and like they just make me upset. And at least the Eagles, they have a little bit of like potential and things to look forward to. So I'll ride with Philly on this one. But it's going to come down to Game 3, as it often does here in Prove Your Point. We're moving to the NBA. There's been a lot of talks about Damian Lillard being traded. And I'm curious what you guys think would be the best possible landing spot for him should Portland decide to move him. And we are going to start with Jimmy.
I think the best possible landing spot for Dame time is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would they want to move any of their young pieces? Well, with guys like Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, they need that guy to be able to knock down big shots. D'Angelo Russell is not that guy he used to be. When he was in Brooklyn, he was that guy. But after he left for Golden State and now Minnesota, it's hard to say if the team will get any better. As of now, they're slated for the play-in, and if they get a guy like Lillard, that offense is going to be loaded. Damian is just the guy this young core needs, as they need that veteran guy with loads of playoff experience. This man brought a decent Trailblazers team to the Western Conference Finals just a few years ago. If they can find a way to package Russell with some other key pieces, I think this deal should be done.
No, you bring up a fair point. I think an offense of Edwards and Lillard and Towns would be frightening. And I don't really know how someone would contain such a thing. So that would certainly be interesting, and I do like the argument made there. But I'm obviously going to give Derek a chance here to prove his point. What are your thoughts? Where is Damian Lillard? What's the best spot for Damian Lillard?
Is this even a question right now? I mean, come on. It's the New York Knicks, the mecca of basketball, baby. First off, the Timberwolves already have D'Angelo Russell. Why get Dame Dollar? But anyways, the Knicks have been looking for a point guard since the Linsanity era. That's how long it's been. The Linsanity era. The only question is at what cost for the Knicks. They've got pieces to go away. Honestly, I don't think Portland would be too interested in that package that you mentioned. They got young pieces all across the board to give away, and they can score. And Damian Lillard can score at all 3 levels, which the Knicks need. And with his passing ability, he's going to have a huge influence on those younger players, which is going to elevate all the Knicks players' game. And Damian Lillard wants to be there while he's in his prime, and who wouldn't want to be at MSG for every home game? It is one of the best basketball places to play. This would be a huge opportunity for him, and he could be the missing piece for the New York Knicks. The Blazers obviously are the real question is, do the Blazers really want to get rid of him? And they're obviously going to want some young pieces. Honestly, I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves have the pieces that the New York Knicks have. And the Knicks can take off some of that salary. Not really sure how the Timberwolves are going to maneuver all that salary that they have. And the Knicks are ready to make some noise with the addition of Damian Lillard.
I think these are some great arguments you guys provided. I'm going to, just for a second, I'm going to ignore the potential packages and what it's going to take because I don't know what goes on with NBA GMs. I don't know what they deem necessary for Damian Lillard. From a pure basketball perspective, that's how I'm going to make the decision. And I put no thought into this beforehand because I really wanted to see what you guys had to say. We talk about Dame and the Knicks, and that's exciting. Damian Lillard in New York is certainly an exciting prospect for someone who, it lives in New York. Maybe give me a reason to go to a Knicks game one day. As for the Timberwolves, Lillard in that offense would be exciting. It would certainly be exciting. But I think a lot of the Timberwolves' problems, they come on defense. And I don't know if that fit with Lillard and Cat and Edwards. And not that Russell plays great defense, but that's also why the Timberwolves aren't good. And when I think about that, is that really a situation that is going to elevate the Timberwolves? I don't know the answer to that question. And when I think about it, I really do think that the Knicks are actually a better fit for Lillard. And that's why I'm going to side with Derek on this one. I think that the Knicks provide an opportunity for Lillard to be in a system that lacks a true offensive star and has a lot of great role players. R.J. Barrett obviously coming into his own. But Lillard would be able to just be the guy in that offense with all these great pieces around him, even though they'd have to move some of them. And I think that would work better for Lillard and for the Knicks, which is why I'm going with you, Derek. Once again, you've won here. You're undefeated on the semester. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm going to say that I'm not surprised. I mean, I've been undefeated. I mean, who here is going to beat me? It is just undeniable that right now I'm the best player out here. And yet again, I mean, I won, and I'm just going to move on to the next game.
Wow. Jimmy, what do you have to say to that?
I mean, it was a great match. I knew coming in that I was facing a tough opponent, and, well, I gave it my all. I really thought I gave it my all, but Derek had some better arguments than me, so congrats.
Absolutely, and I think this has been we've had a great semester of Prove Your Point here. It sucks that's coming to an end. We will be back, though, eventually. But with that being said, we're going to kick it over. We're going to bring Connor back. We're going to go talk about Marist sports a little bit, so stay tuned. All right, now let's jump into some Marist news here.
Let's do it. So, big events happened this week in Marist, if you haven't heard, but due to COVID-19 cases and injuries, the Marist women's basketball team has been put on pause. And for the past 2 games, they've only had 8 players suited up, and only 7 of them have played. Now, they're not slated to play again until the 18th, but there's no clear indication as to what's going to happen by then, whether the team is going to be ready or not. I mean, who knows? It's still about 10 days away from this point that we're talking right now. So that might give them enough time to bounce back. But in general this season, because of those 2 games where players were missed and because they played high competition before that against Arizona and Arizona State, the team has really had struggles. I believe they've dropped about 4 or 5 games so far in the season, and that is a huge step back from where they were last year when they won the MAC championship and made it to the tournament. So I don't know. Marist women's basketball is not in a good place right now. Matt, what do you think? What do you make all this?
Yeah, no, I mean, it sucks because we're so used to just this great women's basketball team. And to have, we play some big games in Arizona against Arizona and Arizona State. Obviously, those are games we're not expected to win. And then you come back home and you have injuries and COVID, and it's just like, can't catch a break right now. But it's early in the season, and I know that the quality of this program, and I believe they're going to right the ship. I have a lot of confidence in them. So
Definitely. Always got to believe in Georgia, you know what I'm saying?
No,
Georgia always finds a way.
Absolutely. In some positive news, 7 Marist football players were selected for this year's All-PFL team. 3 were named to the first team, 4 on the second team, and Mekhi Johnson was named the Special Teams Player of the Year in the conference. Exciting names for Marist football. This is a sport that since the past couple of years, they're not expected to a lot of good things. Kind of turning it around this year. What do you think? Yeah,
complete opposite of Marist women's basketball. I think Marist football really found a way to turn it around this year, which is kind of cool to see, especially with their quarterback play with like Austin Day and stuff like that. They really found a way to turn it around, which was kind of nice and something different for a change. Congratulations to all those players who were named, whether you were named on the All-PFL list, or Mekhi Johnson, shout out to you for making the Special Teams Player of the Year. Looks like Marist football is actually headed maybe in the right direction.
No, I think so. I think that's the case.
Yeah, I hope so. But in other news also, I mean, we're talking about fall sports here and winter sports. Spring sports are right around the corner. Marist women's I'm just going to start this from the top of the spring one because I could not say fucking lacrosse. Marist Spring Sports are right around the corner. Marist women's lacrosse schedule has just been announced today. 16 total games. 8 of them are going to be in conference, and 8 of them are going to be in the MAC. So that starts on February 20th, the season. How do you think the ladies are going to fare this year?
No, honestly, I feel pretty good about it. Lacrosse here has been good the past couple of years. I actually, I remember I haven't really seen a lot of lacrosse because there hasn't been much going on. But, we weren't allowed at games last year. Our freshman year, we didn't have any. But from everything that I've heard, the lacrosse teams here are, to be expected to be good. So I'm excited to. I'm actually not going to get to see it again because I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll catch a game on ESPN or something because I actually do enjoy watching lacrosse. So I'm pretty hopeful for the team.
Dude, when you're hanging out in Italy at like 11 o'clock at night, time zone should match up by then. Throw on a game when it's here at 7. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what better to throw on than Marist Women's Lacrosse?
There's nothing better to watch, literally. So just throw that on, tune in, support the teams, and there you go.
No, absolutely. And speaking of which, this is a sad moment for us
Very
here
sad.
because. For those of you who don't know, I am not going to be here next semester, so this is my last show of the year, which means that is our last show together. About 2 years ago, I came here for my first show. I was supposed to just be a cameraman. I came in a bright orange Peyton Manning Tennessee jersey.
I'll never forget.
And I had met Connor once before. We'd worked a football game together. We filmed, I think it was the third quarter together. Did a bang up job. But I came here supposed to be a cameraman, and one of the other hosts didn't show up. And you were supposed to be the host, and we needed someone to fill in. So I go, I'll do it. I looked at the topics, no preparation, and just rambled on probably way longer than I needed to. I probably swayed like this the whole time because I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And I looked ridiculous because I was wearing a bright orange Peyton Manning.
You fit in there. It's a sports show,
Yeah, I did. But from that day on, we kind of, started doing things a little differently here at MCTV. And I'll always remember that moment as well as a lot of the time we had here, the amount of fun we had in the studio. As you would always do, you'd bring a quote in here, so I prepared one for us. It's John Rockefeller who said, "It is better to build a friendship on business than a business on friendship." I think that we kind of, we came here not really as friends. We were here mostly with the intention of just creating a good show. And I think in doing so, you became not only a friend to me, but a mentor and a brother. And I'm always going to remember everything that you did for this show and for me, honestly. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're making me emotional here, right here live on TV. I think some tears may be shed later on once I'm in the shower and the moment hits that you're finally gone. It's definitely, I'm going to miss you a lot in Italy. Definitely, for sure. The show is not going to be the same coming on here and not hearing you either in the studio or seeing you out here on camera. It's definitely going to be tough to get used to. But I know you're going to have a blast in Italy. And I know next year you're going to do great things in your senior year.
Appreciate that.
I'm excited. And I say the same to you, The funny thing, actually, I just want to go back to that little story you said about when we first met each other at the football game. I actually thought you were, at the time I was a sophomore, I thought you were a junior. And then you're like, nah, I'm a freshman. I was like, oh, that's it's cool, man. I was like, nice. You seem like you know what you're doing. And it just happened to work out. Again, came here, started working this together, and just became great friends. And you said brothers from there, what I'm saying? So
absolutely. With that being said, I think it's only fitting that you send us off one last time.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you again so much for tuning in. Not only to this show, but to everything me and Matt have done together as a duo. I know I'm going to miss it. I'm sure you'll miss it too. So thank you again for sticking around with us throughout all these episodes, and we'll see you again soon.